Let's paint this beautiful landscape together, and special thanks to Xirah for lending us this beautiful photo of Negros Oriental. To access this photo, please click the link below for the Facebook event. This is where you will post your artwork as well. Here are the colors that I will use. You don't need to have the exact colors that you see on the screen. As long as you have something similar to them, I'm sure you'll do good. And I'll use my usual materials, my Bauhong watercolor paper, Holbein paints, a variety of brushes, palette, water jar, tissue, and rag. I'll be using the back of my already used Bauhong watercolor paper. And I'm showing you the texture of the front and the back. First thing that I'll do is give this house a mask, a face mask. And I'll use an X-Acto knife, or you can use a cutter to cut out the excess masking tape that you won't need. If you are not confident in doing this technique, it's okay. You can go for a masking fluid, or you can just leave out or do not paint on the house. Or the easiest way is to just paint over the foliage later using pure white paint. If you have pure white paint, you can use gouache or white watercolor, or maybe even acrylic and poster colors. Whatever works for you. I have a simple sketch here. When you're drawing your horizon line, just make sure that it is below the center. Either it is above or below the center. I'm placing it below the center of the paper since I want to show more of the mountain, the foliage, and some of the clouds. The cloud thinks that she is more beautiful than the mountain, so she is covering the mountain. I'll do that with wet on wet technique. I'm wetting the paper with clean water, mineral water, and laying down the colors of my sky. The cloud is a bit vain, so I will need to retouch her makeup and do the lifting method while the paint is still wet. Later, I'll show you how to do lifting while the paper is dry. Now I'll work on the field in our foreground. I'm using Viridian Hue plus Permanent Yellow. I used to hate Viridian Hue when doing landscapes, but when I accidentally mixed it with yellow, this is so beautiful. I love this color. There is a so-called green problem where you can't seem to find the perfect green for your landscape, for your leaves, for vegetables, or whatever you're painting on. But this accidental discovery is such a relief. I love using Viridian Hue, especially when I'm mixing it with different yellows. I'll just paint it directly on dry paper, going back and forth with this mop brush to cover the field area. Now working on the mountain. Since the cloud is covering the mountain, because she's more beautiful than the mountain, I will also do wet on this one and sort of make the color of the mountain fade as it reaches the bottom. That gives a very interesting atmospheric effect. And again, do the lifting method to retouch the clouds. Now, the house here is our main actor. He's also a bit vain, so he wants to check himself in the mirror. That's why we're painting a reflection. I mixed burnt umber with my yellow-green mixture. So that's yellow plus virgin hue plus burnt umber or brown to give this a kind of olive green or muddy green color. I'm just being careful in painting this one to preserve the shape that I drew earlier. For the foliage, I have prepared different mixtures of green. Have my yellow ochre plus viridian hue, yellow plus viridian hue, and then add some Prussian blue. And if you'll take a closer look at the reference photo, you'll find that a part of the foliage is lit by the sun of like a spotlight. So I will want to replicate that by dropping the lighter colors on this part of the foliage. And as you can see, the foliage in the reference photo is a bit complicated, but I just treated them as a whole shape, a full shape, an abstract shape, and didn't worry about the details. We'll add the mascara and the lipstick later, so no need to worry about the details. As long as this looks like trees in the background, you'll do good. Okay, now it's time to remove that face mask and add makeup for our main actor. And the reflection and the house do not align. That's why I'll grab my synthetic flat brush and do the lifting method I mentioned earlier. This time the paper is dry, and I am carefully lifting up some of the colors that got into the house. It would look really weird if the reflection does not look like the house, right? That's why I am correcting it by using the lifting method. I'll just mix a very very light blue plus brown mixture for the walls or for the face of the house. I'll grab a smaller brush and add some prominent marks on our field. Just really tiny quick strokes to add variation, because that is a huge blank space. You would want to complicate that by adding smaller shapes, teeny tiny details by using a smaller brush. there is something going on in the middle ground, and I will try and replicate that with random shapes. No need to get yourself too worked out in copying whatever is happening in the middle ground. I'll just do random shapes here. Really just random shapes. But always refer back to the reference photo to give you an idea of what kind of random shape you would want to paint. And paint in a single tree. So I'm just dabbing my brush and imagining the overall shape of the tree as I do it. Also, speaking of trees, I have a Skillshare class where I will share with you 3 easy and really simple tricks in painting trees. So if you're interested, just check out the pinned comment below, and by using that link, you can access the class free for 14 days. Ha, commercial. Once done with that, I will now go and put eyeshadow and lipstick on the main actor. So I'm using blue here, and again, making sure that the reflection in the house looks the same. So I'm painting in a shadow on the shaded part of the house. And for the lipstick, I'm using Scarlet Lake. You can use other brands or shades of the lipstick that you have in your palette. No worries about that. As you can see, the house is surrounded by lots of different shades of green. And if you'll check the color wheel, red and green lie opposite in the color wheel. So complementary colors. And another way to make that house pop out even more is to use the complementary color, red. That's why I love this reference photo so much. It looks simple, but when you crop it out and you just get to see what you really wanted to paint, there is so much going on in here. Does it look familiar to you, this scene? You know, you have a mountain, you have clouds, you have a field, you have a house, you have a tree, and later I'll add birds. Does this look like this drawing? When I was in elementary, we used to draw this over and over again. I mean, all of us knows how to draw this scene. It is an iconic Filipino scene, and I really, really love to upgrade this drawing into this painting. So thank you so much, Xirah, for contributing this photo. And I think by painting together, we are also traveling together through our works. So I will again encourage you to please post your artwork in the link below. You should see that Facebook event. If you click on the discussion tab, you can now upload your artwork. Here is our landscape painting. I hope you enjoyed today's session, and thank you for spending your time painting with me. And I'll see you next week for another workshop. Thanks so much. Bye.